This video is brought to you by the Farmer Klein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 Map First Impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at
Mazowiecka Nizina.
version 3.0. But before that, this video is brought to you by David Sanborn and Bipolar Prophet. Thank you for being farm barons. So the
Mazowiecka Nizina.
map can be found over at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu. And as of the 1.0 release, this map is going to be available for PC and Mac, as well as Xbox One in Series X and S. For whatever reason, if you try to load this map up with PlayStation, it wasn't loading up fully. So as of the 1.0 release, this map is not available on PlayStation. Giants is aware of the issue and is looking into it. So hopefully there will be a map update in the future that will then include a release for PlayStation players. Let's go ahead and read a little bit on the description. Welcome to Mazovia. The map is inspired by a municipality in the north of a province in Poland. The map includes one playable farm, 3 construction sites, 235 fields, people. We have 100 toys to collect, so we are going to be able to collect the Elm Creek collectibles. We have a sawmill, multiple selling points, production buildings, biogas plant, free water intake point, and forests and such. We are going to go ahead and load on into the map. We are going to use the mods that we typically use when we take a look at these maps. They are additional field info, additional game settings, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. As the map loads on in, let's say that if you load this map up in Farm Manager or start from scratch, you do not own any land. And in addition, the starting farm is completely empty. There are no buildings on the starting farm. The only thing at the starting farm is a rather interesting water feature. So here we are loaded on in. We kind of load in here in town, which is a little, unique. Here we have the PDA on the side of the building. If you do play this map with precision farming, the map does make use of the Elm Creek soil map. So it does not have a custom soil map. It is using the Elm Creek soil map, which is included with the precision farming mod. Let's go ahead and take a look at the PDA. And in keeping with typical Polish farm sim map form, we have lots of narrow and long fields, several fields, all of which are very, very close together. They can be easily merged if you wish to into larger fields once you buy all of the given plots. We do have all of our standard crop types available to us here in Farm Sim 22. And if we take a look at the lands area, you'll see that we start out by owning the main farm, which is 3.46 acres in size, $84,000 to buy. We also own field 203, 2.63 acres at $63,000, and field 235 at 4.44 acres in size, or $107,000. Now there is a biogas plant, which is on the western side of the map. It can be bought for $74,000. And as the description said, there are 3 construction areas on the map, one of which can be found here that includes field 107 for $94,944. One here to the north that includes field 152 for $43,608. And then there is another one that is over here just across from field 1 that is $53,232 to buy. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our farmland lease screen. Now we use this screen in order to show us all of the available and owned farm lands, how big the actual buyable farmland is, if the farmland includes any particular fields, which field or fields they may include, then also the particular costs of those buyable farmlands. As you'll see from this list, a lot of the buyable farmlands are less than 1 hectare in size. We do have a couple larger plots. We have one here, Farmland 79, which is 3.38 hectares, includes field 229. It is buyable for nearly $203,000. At any point in time, if you should wish, you can stop this video and scroll back and take a look at the individual buyable farmlands, what fields that they are associated with, and how much they are going to cost you. Then once we get through this list, we're going to go ahead and jump over to the field calculator screen. which is going to give us a bit more size information specific to fields themselves. As I said, here we have the field calculator screen, and we're most interested in the field number and the size of the given field. Most of the fields on this map are going to be under 1 hectare in size, but we do have a few fields that are greater than 2 hectares in size, and we have a couple that are greater than 3. The largest field, I believe, being around 3.7 hectares. We're going to find that one toward the absolute bottom of the list. Of course, at any point in time, you can pause this video, go back to the farmland lease section, and kind of cross-compare the field number that you're seeing here with the farm land that you see in the other screen to then get a kind of a correlation as to how much you're going to have to spend in order to pick up a particular field that you may be interested in. Here you can see the largest field is 3.71 hectares in size, and it is field 233. We do have the standard crop counter available to us here on the map, and if we take a look at our prices screen, you will see that we do have multiple sell points for the bulk of our grain crops that we can produce, with one interesting exception. We do not have the ability to sell sugarcane base map. Now, we can grow sugarcane. Sugarcane does show up in the available crop screen on the PDA, but right now with the 1.0 release, we cannot sell sugarcane. Now, I kind of understand the fact that we can't sell sugarcane. I doubt too many people are growing sugarcane in Poland, but still, I would like to see a correlation between the crops that are available to be grown on the map and the crops that are available to be sold on the map. I'd like to see a 1-to-1 ratio there. The map author intended for us not to be able to sell sugarcane. I'd like for it to have been not included on the crops list of the main PDA. We do have the ability to sell all of our animal outputs in eggs, wool, and milk. We also have the ability to sell silage, hay, straw, and grass. We do also have the ability to sell all of the available production items so we can make a base game on the map. This map does include 7 production points included already built into the map, but I do like to see that we do have the ability to sell all of the existing baseline production items. We do have the ability to buy bulk lime, and we also do indeed have a stone sell point. We start out with a very small list of starting machinery. We have a tractor, we have a seeder, we have a trailer, and then a New Holland harvester and grain header. A little bit more on that in a little bit. We do not have any animals at the start, but the main farm does have the large base game cow farm. We do have contracts available, and we do not own any production chains at the start. Let's go ahead and just quickly tab over to the starting farm, which is located right here. And I will say the starting tour is going to be pretty short and pretty sweet because there's not a lot going on here. Got a pretty big kind of farm yard here. We do have our farm silo. Base game farm silo, so we have our dump and fill pipe there, our tractor and our trailer. We have our sleep trigger, and as I was saying, the map includes here at the main farm an interesting water feature. I wouldn't really call this a pool, given the fact that it's just dirt and a pier. It's not really, is it a pond? If you have what would be a pool if it was in the concrete, just as a hole in your backyard, is it a pond? Is it I guess more appropriately, a swimming hole? What is it? It's interesting, to say the least. At any rate, we can indeed sell everything that is available here. Every building that is on the main farm, so we can sell a farmhouse, which includes the fencing here, includes the gazebo and the dock. The watering hole, we'll call it, remains. We can sell a silo, we can sell the base game large cow barn, and we can also sell the shed that is over here. And if we load this up, as I said, in Farm Manager or start from scratch, none of these buildings are present on this piece of land. Now, I would say that this map would be a pretty interesting map for multiplayer, and the fact that we do have basically 4 buildable areas in new farmer mode, or sorry, in Farm Manager, because this would be blank and there's 3 other building areas on the farm. 235 fields are more than enough fields to keep a couple folks busy in multiplayer. So here we have our seeder. Let's go ahead and take a look at that starting equipment. So the John Deere 6230R. Then we have the New Holland CH7.70 harvester. It is paired up with the 25-foot Superflex grain header. Then we have the Brantner Z18051/2 XXL PowerFlex trailer. And then the Kuhn S Pro 6000 RC seeder. Now, seeder has 270 horsepower and the tractor is 280 horsepower. So we're good to go there. We're going to go ahead and get set up for the fly around. We'll fly around the map and then come back to the shop, get our Mahindra, and do a little bit of a drive. But before I do that, I do want to remember to take a look at our textures. So we do have a couple interesting textures available to be painted. We have our animal mud, we have our asphalt, our dirt, forest ground, grass, our gravel, and then we have this texture right here, which is of the main yard. Now, of these textures, the new texture, I think, is the only one that really isn't using the new technique. I looked at this, and as best as I can tell, this is a flat texture. I'm not really seeing the depressions that I would expect to see where the bricks, as compared to, let's say, the rocks here. And we'll talk a little bit about these textures and, of course, the buildings in a little bit later part of the video. But I did want to go ahead and put those down so we can take a look at those. And I do need to apologize because, once again, I have skipped over the precision farming screen. I need to try to remember to do a little bit better with that. But here we see the U.S. soil map applied to this particular map and these fields. So you see that in the north we have some loamy sand and sandy loam, a decent hunk of silty clay kind of crossing across the north center of the map down to the southwest. And then to the east we have, again, sandy loam, loamy sand, and loam in a interesting stripe pattern. And pull up the PDA. And we are right here kind of on the eastern edge. So the field that you see directly below you is part of field 209. The field that is just beyond that is actually outside the playable boundary. Of course, if we weren't so high up in the sky, right, it would look a little bit different. I do wish these higher textures would continue on. Quite possibly, maybe it's not possible unless the kind of the base map was extended out to a 4X map, and then that may then preclude it from being available on console. But yeah, players may or may not have an issue with how kind of the map textures kind of split off there with respect to these fields, because of course this is a standard farm sim texture, but then we get out here, now we're at the map boundary. And then you can see just off in a little bit of a distance, we go to one of those really, really low res type textures. But overall, the map is rather interesting from a visual standpoint. We've got lots of little rolling hills across the various fields. Now, in places where we do have power lines that do cross through the fields, these power lines do have collisions. So be aware, if you do hire help, you will have to worry about the hired help avoiding these areas. They will basically block around them. You're going to have to come in later and clean it up. But you can see we are stopped when we try to basically fly through those. So we do have collisions on those. Now, as we get down here to this sell point, an interesting design feature has been done on this map where The front part of the cell point, where we actually have the cell trigger, cannot be bought. But then later sections of this whole industrial area can be purchased. So we could buy the second half or the third part of this particular cell point and then place down our own things kind of in this industrial complex. So here we have the cell trigger. If we go back to the PDA and we go to our lands, you'll see that this part of the map, this part of the facility we can't buy. But we can buy 1, 2, 3, and then ultimately 4 little sections of this facility. So if we wanted to put something else down, maybe another cell point, another buy trigger, or whatnot, then we could kind of just slip it in here and work it in as if it is a feature of this complex. So I thought that was a kind of a real interesting design idea. As I said, there are 7 production areas built into the map. They are grain mill, a spinnery, a bakery, a tailor shop, the biogas plant, sawmill, and carpentry. As we kind of move across the map, we'll go ahead and take a look to the north. Here we have a log cell point. And then with respect to buildings where appropriate are using the new texture technique as well as the ground textures. We already talked about most of the ground textures are using the new technique. With respect to the buildings, a fair bit of the buildings are not using the new technique. There are a few kind of custom buildings that are using the new technique with respect to having kind of a 3D texture to the brick and the block siding. But for the most part, most of these buildings that are not included base game Farm Sim 22 buildings, they are using flat standard textures that were from FS19 and before. Now, overall, most of these textures are not too terribly low res, but I just did want to point out that they are using the older textures. So as a result, we are going to give the map a half of a point with respect to that metric. So here we have the stone cell point. Basically, it's kind of a hole in the side of the hill with a dump trigger. You will notice we do not have the markers or the yellow and black corner markers indicating the actual dump trigger. So we are going to lower our score overall with respect to having the player and interactive areas being clearly marked. We will see that as kind of a trend throughout the rest of this flyover and drive around, is that a decent amount of the cell points are not completely marked out the way that we have seen them on other maps. So I would like to see the kind of the black and yellow corner markers placed down in an update if we do have an update in the future. So here we have the biogas plant. We have our fill pipe for our digestate. We have our dump point here for our slurry. We have dueling digesters. And then we have a pair of 3-sided silage buckers. As we continue to make our way up here, we are coming up to one of those buildable construction sites. Like I said, this one includes Little Old Field 152. Of course, you could paint the rest of 152 into regular land and then have this whole area kind of as a buildable farm. So we have a cell point, and then we have another grain cell point located right there. We have a fuel station located here by field 92. We have our animal dealer to the extreme north of the map. Right here on the northern edge of the map, we have our animal dealer. Here we have one of our production points. Let's go ahead and see which one this one is. So we have our Taylor directly below. I do like to see that we are using kind of custom buildings for our production to kind of blend in. We have our Taylor there. We have our spinnery located right here. We have a supermarket sell point. We have a farmer's market sell point. We have our biomass heating plant sell point. We have our bakery production. And then our grain mill production. And then up here, also right at the map's edge, we have our dairy buy point. And then for the most part, the rest of the triggers are going to be down here, kind of just to the north of the center of the map. This is where we're going to locate the vehicle shop. So here we have our carpentry facility. We have our shop and our maintenance trigger, as well as our fuel station. Here we have another construction site. This is pretty neat. A big nest on top of the power line platform there. Then we have a sell point here at the intersection. So let's run back over here to our shop area. We'll go ahead and buy the Mahindra, see where it flies down as far as our vehicle spawn point, and then move on from there. So you can see the main farm, which is off in the distance over there, not too far away from the shop area. So we have our shop trigger inside. Vehicle spawn point is here around the back. So we got a decent sized area here for machinery to spawn in at. I mean, overall the fields are relatively small. We're probably going to be getting stuff out of here that is maybe 6 meters or less in working with. Then once we, of course, get it out of the shop, we've got to contend with traffic and fairly narrow roads on the map. Now, inside of the building, we also have our workshop trigger. And the workshop is going to be located right here as far as the actual trigger where you put your machinery. We have our workshop trigger right there. I would also like to see the yellow and black markers here to delineate the kind of the corner of the trigger area. Because, I mean, if you are pulling in a harvester or something, you want to know kind of how far you need to pull it in before you will get to that trigger. Go ahead and drive around. Like I said, we're going to take a look at all the various triggers and such. Sell points. Right here, we again have a fuel station as well as our 2 shop triggers. Get a little bit of also a feel of the lay of the land from this perspective. Like how the land here has been set up to kind of come down to this rivers. So you can see land on both sides is kind of angled down to where the river is. See that continued on over on this side of the bridge. One of our cell points is located right here at the intersection. And this particular cell point is this one. Trying to kind of make our way diagonally to the east, southeast corner. We're going to eventually land over there at the large industrial cell point. I like how we have the road signs on the map. We're coming into kind of another town area, another area of the map. We left the second town. I think there's probably 3 or 4 different towns laid out here on the map. Here we have a grain cell point. And as I said during the fly around, this whole area is set up where, while you can't buy this front portion where the actual cell point is, you can buy everything, you know, back there. You can buy things over here on this side, such that if you wanted to put down additional placeable cell points, you could put down additional placeable cell points and kind of work it in to this whole area. You could even put in production there if you had, if at some point there were, let's say, a production facility mod that came out that was, for the most part, just triggers, right? Imagine if you could just have a production facility mod that was just the triggers for various productions. Then you could kind of make your own custom production down there in the lower southeast corner of the map. I think that would be pretty interesting. Well, that's interesting. I mean, given the year, I would assume that this would relate something to one of the world wars. We have a log cell point. We have our dump station and our wood cell trigger. Make our way this way through the woods. I will say we didn't go through and take a look during the fly around portion, but I would really suggest kind of looking through the various forested and wooded areas. There's a lot of little interesting details kind of scattered around on this map that are definitely worth spending a little bit of time and checking out. I think the map author did a really good job with respect to how the land just kind of ebbs and flows. The undulations of the land and overall field layouts are rather interesting. They're not all square, they're not all rectangular. But in keeping with the traditional Polish style maps that we have seen in Farm Sim, there is a plenty of fields. Made our way over here. This is going to be the rock or the stone sell point. Oops. Completely missed it. We're going to bring our rocks here and dump them. So I make our way over to the biogas plant. A bit more in-station driving, in-cab driving. This might be an interesting map to use the Kubota DLC on. Right? With tractors ranging from just under 100 horsepower to right around 200 horsepower. I think that'd be right in a pretty good operating range for the size of fields that we have to work here with. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think about this map and the upcoming Kubota DLC. Oops, sorry. Here's where the map curves around. And we have our biogas plant. I just take the back exit out there. Here we are coming into another town area. Lots of different road networks. I'll tell you what looks like a little bit of a shortcut. Right here. Now we're over here up by field 150 at that particular cell point, and then we have the other grain cell point located right there. Like I said, you can see we've got the blue floaty icon, which is at least something, but I would like to see the kind of more older school yellow and black hash marks, also indicating at all of these cell points. Of course, the player can turn those off should they so wish to, but yeah. Oh, you kidding me? I thought Forza was on Thursday, not Friday. Let's just sneak over here. Our way over here to the fuel station. Located right there, and then our animal dealer. And some other production points are going to be located down along this main roadway. Oh, we nearly missed our turn for our tailor, I believe this is. So here we have the custom tailor production. We have our dump station for our fabric. We have our interactive icon. We have our wardrobe trigger. And then we have our spawn point for our clothes. Move on down the row. We have our spinnery. So we have our interactive icon. We have our dump station and our fabric spawn point. Where is that at? Our fabric's going to spawn here, yeah, under the building. So there we go. Across the street, we have our grocery store sell point here at the loading dock. We have our milk sell point located right here. And then we have our animal dealer. Located right here, and I guess you get a free collectible location. And just a few more sell points to take a look at. So let's do a little bit of a rundown on our map scoring. We're going to give the map a full point with respect to having production areas built in, with 7 production areas already built into the map. There's a few building zones kind of scattered around the map, either for production or building out additional player farm areas. Here we have our farmers market. Have an interesting layout here. We're going to give the map 3/4 of a point with respect to having all of the available crops to be sold, all of the animal outputs, and base game production areas. We are missing just sugarcane, so we can't give the map a full point there. We do deduct in 1/4 of points. So here we have the biomass heating plant. It's going to be a sell point for our hay, straw, silage, and grass, amongst other things. We are going to give the map a full point with respect to the farm being customizable, as the main farm can be completely customized. We could sell everything on the main farm in new farmer mode, or if you play in farm manager or start from scratch, the main farm is completely barren other than that interesting swimming hole. So here we have our bakery. We have our interactive icon. Around back, we have our dump station and pallet spawn point. And oh, here you have another collectible location revealed. And up next, we have our grain mill. We have our pallet spawn point or interactive icon. Around the corner, we have our dump station. With respect to buildings appropriate using the new texture technique, we are going to give a map a half of a point with respect to that. And here we have our sawmill. Coming back to a nice, interesting forested area. Our pallet spawn point, our wood cell trigger, our dump station for the wood, our interactive icon, and our wood chip point. And then with respect to the map having triggers and interactive areas clearly marked, we are going to give the map a half a point there. Again, simply because we are missing the yellow and white slash corner markers on a lot of these dump stations and sell points. I would like to see them displayed everywhere where we are going to need to interact with something like the workshop trigger at the shop or various sell points. So overall, we're going to give the map a score of 3 3/4 points out of 5. Not a shabby score at all. Pretty solid map. I like the look. I like the feel of it. We've got 2 more areas to take a look at. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the map? Did you play this map in its Farm Sim 19 iteration? And are you going to play it again in Farm Sim 22's iteration? And here we have the custom carpentry. So we have our interactive trigger, our pallet spawn point, and our dump station, and our wood trigger here at the carpentry area. And then we have a sell point for our root crops in our potatoes and sugar beets. So guys, that is going to do us for
Mazowiecka Nizina.
Let me know once again what you think down in the comments below. And until next time, happy farming. And just for reference, here we have the lane. A lane that is going to take us back kind of toward our start farm.